Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this great and wonderful conversation. Today, I have Nancy Jean from Nancy Jean's Garden. I don't know if any of you know this, but this is the best kept secret ever. But Nancy Jean has been in politics and has been physically involved in politics for quite some time. She's gonna tell the story of to let us know everything that she did. But she was involved with Obama, and she also lives in Texas. So this is where we wanted to come on because I live in a blue state that was red, and she'll tell you that story as well. And she lives in Texas where it is red. So she has this great, huge, vast knowledge of what we can do, what we should be doing, how to get in, how to help to do this. So this is where she's going to be able to do that. Like on her channel, she keeps it pure with rocks and stuff like that. But I want to be able to give her that platform when she wants to go political and talk politics, that she can come onto my channel and do that. And this woman, like I've always said, she has probably forgotten more than I know about tarot cards and politics and everything like that. So I want to hand it over to this wonderful woman who is going to tell us her story and give us a lot of information. So take it away,
Okay.
Nancy.
When Sheila and I started talking, I told her I wanted to make this a tale of two states because when she talks about I've been in politics, my mother was Republican Woman of the Year in Illinois. I even still have the placard that says that. I grew up, my earliest political memory is really the second time Eisenhower was elected. My mother had a watch party at her house. And what it stuck in my mind is she could rent little TVs. So and that's like most of you weren't even born yet when that happened. But I remember, and she made red, white, and blue sandwiches. And she was, my house was just awash with political talk. I mean, we talked about it all the time. My parents had left Canada, and think that election, Eisenhower's elections, was the first one they could vote in. They become naturalized citizens. I was born here, so I was already a citizen. But I grew up in that environment. My mother made me go out and stick leaflets in people's mailboxes for Nixon the first time he ran, when he ran against Kennedy. Um, but for all of the, and I remember when Kennedy was assassinated, I was a freshman in high school and I came home. My mother was crying. And I was kind of shocked because she had said some very not nice things about Kennedy. But she said, "Oh my God, this isn't how we run things. This isn't how we do things." And then later on, I moved to Texas, came to school in Texas, and Texas at that point was a Democratic state because Johnson had not yet, well, he had just recently signed the Voting Rights Act and all of the turncoats. A lot of the people who became mainstay Republicans in Texas actually were Democrats at one point, and they came over to become Republicans and run a Republican Party because they wanted the power. And they knew that there were a lot of people on the ground that didn't particularly like what their leadership had done. So in case you think of someone's this party or that party, they're this platform or that platform, that's not true really from either side, except where the Republicans have gone now. It's kind of a scary place. I've been in politics this long. I worked on issues. I worked within my neighborhood. I helped develop Crime Watch in minority neighborhoods to when we had the big crime wave, the snatch and grabs in the 90s. I got to know all my city council people. And if you don't know who your city council person is, who your county person is, however your counties are structured. Ours have a county commissioner and county. They call him the county court judge. He's not really a judge, but he's that. If you don't know who's on your school board, if you don't know who's running your community colleges, just go look it up. Just for fun and grins, go look it up. Because normally in most states, less than 10% of the people who vote select those people. And those people make a profound difference to how your life is on the ground. So if you're going to have one place to start, look at a local issue. You want more parks? Go find out who handles that and deal with it. Once you get in the system, you're going to find out it's not that difficult to be part of and that you can make a difference. And that's what my main goal with this conversation is. The principle of politics is that we each need to become involved. That's why the last election was so incredible, because even with the threat of COVID over our heads. People went out and voted in numbers like they never had before because they began to understand when government doesn't function, and we just had 4 years of it in Washington, guys. When government doesn't function or functions only for those who are in charge, we all get left in the dust. And
Can you tell us about Obama and your time with Obama?
okay, what happened with Obama was in 2005, I got a phone call from an attorney, and he said we want to have an event in Lee Park, and we're going to invite some senators to come speak. And this is sort of a little side note. Senators, when they get money from out of their own home state, they actually have to go to the place where the money's coming from and pick up the checks. So because of that, I've met Sheldon Whitehouse, I met Amy Klobuchar, I met Al Franken, I met all kinds of senators because I'm with the lawyers. Lawyers get sick of this. They give them the money and they just soon give them the money and never see them. But in my case, they would have like little luncheons and dinners and things, and they would invite what they called cadavers. I was a cadaver. I was a body to be there, but I was an intelligent body, so they liked me to come. And I got to meet and talk to all these people. Sheldon Whitehouse, one of the smartest men I've ever met in my life. But anyway, that's aside. Doug called me and said, we're doing this thing in Lee Park. We've got all the money. We've got all of the stuff to figure out how to arrange it. But we don't have the volunteers. We're going to need volunteers to help run it. And you know how to get the volunteers there. And I said, okay. So I went up to this meeting, and it was in the top floor of a shiny big office building in Dallas with the boardroom overlooking Turtle Creek. And I sat there, and they said, okay, we've got Joe Biden, Harry Reid, and Barack Obama. Well, Barack Obama had done the summer before the big speech at the Democratic convention. And they said, and then they had another guy who ended up not coming. And they said, we will know Tuesday if they're coming. And then we'll be able to get a date from Lee Park. So I said, okay, just let me know what's going on. Well, they called me and they said they're coming. And I had 19 days to find 500 volunteers, organize it all, get it all arranged, get all the stuff laid out, and get people into Lee Park. And one of the women, a lawyer who's still a friend of mine, she said, oh God, please have people come. And I said, why would you think they wouldn't come? Because people here had a newspaper, the Dallas Morning News, which some call the Dallas Morning Snooze, and they never talked about Democrats ever doing anything right or real. And she said, I'm not sure people will know to come. So anyway, we had no advertising. It was all done by word of mouth. I reached out to all the other progressive groups I knew from having run city council races. I got everybody I could find, got them to sign up. And they said, sure, we'll be there. And these lawyers thought we might get 500, maybe 1,000 people in this park. We had 5,000 people show up. And I met Obama that day. And
Did you meet Biden too?
I met Biden too, and I met Harry Reid. And Harry Reid's the shortest human. He's shorter than me, and I'm tiny. I met Obama, and I'll tell you this: I saw the Beatles live when they were their first tour of America, 64, 65. He has that star quality. I have met a couple of the Beatles separately since, and they still had that quality. But he had it in spades. He got out of that limousine, and it was like, whoa, the energy. When we talk about people with energy, it's like, and Biden's the same way, but Biden's a more intimate energy, and he hugs you, and he's really sweet. And trust me, when you see him hugging people, he does it because he genuinely likes to hug. He's not being a lech. And Harry Reid had these big giant bodyguards around him because he just closed down the Senate to discuss Iraq, and there's all sorts of flack from the other side about that. But it was an interesting meeting. It was an interesting event. And all I can tell you is all the people in Dallas were sitting there. Now, I knew there were lots of Democrats in Dallas because I ran my candidates door to door, and I knew all these people that were out there that wanted to change, wanted us to be blue. They voted for Ann Richards, and then the party lost the ball, and we didn't stay on top of things. But people were literally sitting in the park going, oh my God, I didn't know there was this many Democrats in Dallas. And it was the largest Democratic event since the day JFK was assassinated in the city that we'd ever had. And that's one other reason why Democrats didn't have a lot of big meetings here. They'd have them in Fort Worth. But long story short, I met Obama, and then I went to work for him that winter in Iowa, and I worked for him in the caucuses, mostly because I wanted to see a caucus. I really wanted to see how they ran. I took my son with me. He was 17. We left the day after Christmas, worked through the caucuses. That's his interesting. I'm a tech kid from Texas, and now I have winter snow stories. And I worked very hard for Obama. I ran his field program here. I've met him several times because of that. I met Michelle. She is as with energy as he is. And they're wonderful people, but they are the kind of people we can bring in. But you got to realize Obama ran around the Democratic Party because he knew Hillary and Bill's influence within inside the party was so strong that he had to create his own organization. That's what I was part of, Obama Dallas, not for any other reason than that was the easiest way to work for him. So that's kind of my experience with Obama. But I'd worked for Clinton when he ran. My daughter, we still have the notebook she did of collecting up all the material about Clinton when he ran. I made all my kids be political. I taught them. I can go on a website during voting season and see if you voted or not. And my kids knew to never say anything to me like, "Oh yeah, Mom, I voted," because they didn't vote. No food for you. So anyway, I ran city council races. I ran county-wide races. I worked with a lot of different people. One of the legislators at hiding out in D.C., she happened to sit down at my table when I was reading. This is after I quit being in politics. She didn't know who I was because she was a newbie. She was running for the first time. She ran for state house. And she sat down and said, "Oh, I'll do a reading." And I said, "Sure, fine." So I read her cards and I saw that her decision was going to be made about her life in March. And I looked at her and I said, "Are you running for an office?" Because in Texas, it's sort of decided in March. That's the primary. And she said, "Yeah, I am. Why?" And I said, "Oh, what are you running for?" And I knew who'd been in the seat before. And so I told her what she needed to do. And she took a whole bunch of notes. And she came back by my table a year later and said, "I would never have won if you hadn't told me those things." And that's a story for another day. I will do a thing with Sheila about what you need to know if you want to run as a candidate.
So I would love for you to tell the story, since we have it here, tell the story of Colorado, how Colorado, they went from red to blue.
Right.
And then we'll go into how we're going to help Texas go from red to blue.
Right. Okay. Colorado was as red as Texas. If you go back into the 90s and the 80s, it was as red as Texas. But Colorado made some systemic changes to how its legislature was structured. They set up term limits so that people couldn't be there forever. There's a thing, if this person's been there forever, they know everybody, they know all the levers to pull, and it just seems easier to keep them there. And that's how the Republicans ran that thing. So they changed their term limits. You got to realize in 2002, George Bush won Colorado 51-42. And that's a lot. That really is a lot. So Colorado made some other systemic changes. Once it got people out of term limits, it went from sort of precinct-centric, kind of rallying your troops, to voting by mail. So you had a broader reach of people to get out to and to reach for them. That made a big change. Also, Colorado, you have what they call direct democracy, which is, I guess, like if an issue comes up, you can put it on the ballot. You have a referendum on it. Have you done those? Do you know? Well, I read some articles, and people considered Colorado's penchant in the 90s and early 2000s for referendums to be extremely unstable. So they were looking for a group that would come in so they could work with issues kind of as progressive versus conservative, how we spend our money overall. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I actually personally talked to a person who was at this meeting. There were a bunch of very wealthy people that got together, and to buy into their idea, you had to put $10 million on the table. And what they wanted to do was, instead of educating people to vote D or R, they were going to educate people to vote by issues. They were going to get progressive groups, because sometimes people, like my daddy said, never to vote for Democrat. I'm never going to vote for Democrat, but I want to save the trees. And so they're in the Sierra Club. So what you had to do was they created a structure and they created people to work with them to create a way to bring all the progressive groups together. And slowly but surely, they brought them all together. And that is eventually the mechanism that turned Colorado blue. They had real structural thought behind how to make the people understand who was going to deliver for their state. Texas has not done that. Texas, at the same time, went the other way. Karl Rove roared in 2003, and they ordered a special session under George Bush of our state legislature to redistrict. Now, you always redistrict every 10 years to do the census, but the Dems had been in charge when they redrew the lines, and the Republicans didn't like the lines. So they came in, and there was a Supreme Court case over this. They came in and the Republicans redrew the lines. That's when you hear about now the Dems that are hiding out in D.C. During that thing, the House went to Oklahoma, the Dems from the House and the Dems from the Senate went to New Mexico, and they hung out there for weeks, waiting for the Republicans to come up with a more sensible redistricting thing. It pressured.
Wait a minute. So they've done this before. The Democrats would leave states. This is not new.
No, and they have to get out of the state because they can send them. They can send police officers to come get them and order them back into the Capitol. They can't do it that. I almost said a bad word. Paxton said yesterday. There's never a good word around Paxton. Paxton, mind you, is under indictment right now on federal money charges. But he's not sitting in jail, right? He's going to have the Congress, the House members and the Senate members of the state. Yes, we've done this before. And what they did is the Republicans did finally compromise and change the map a bit, but it really set up a set of gerrymandering that really made it very, very, very difficult to break the hold. So it's really a tale of two states. We have people that have been down in that House and Senate forever, and that includes on the Democratic side. There's no new blood coming in, no new people coming in, and it makes it very difficult. It's glacial to change things. But so what I'm saying to people is, in Texas, go join an Indivisible group if you don't want to be party affiliated. Okay? Indivisible is an interesting organization. It was put together by some people. They teach you how to deal with your local people so you have the most effect. I could call legislators in Georgia or South Carolina, North Carolina, but they don't care. I live in Dallas. What the hell do they care what I think, Unless I had a lot of money, then they'd care. So individually, I can have more influence. And where I lived in Dallas 4 years ago, it was solidly red. Now we have a Democrat as our House member. We have a really good Democratic senator named Nathan Johnson. We've had a guy named Colin Allred who replaced Pete Sessions. He's in the federal House. And they're great people, and we're bringing up some good new people. But you need to look, if you've ever thought you had a reason to want to run for something, give it a shot. I mean, I would not run for office because I would be curled in the closet saying they're never going to vote for me. But
so here's where I love. This is a part of the conversation that I absolutely love. So we're going to cover two things. So anybody can run for office. Is that correct?
Yeah, providing you get either the signatures or you pay the fees, and every state's different. How you get on the ballot in every state is different.
So if you were living in Texas, how would you get on the ballot?
Okay, if you were living in the state of Texas and you wanted to get on the House of and on the Texas State House thing, you get a petition, you get a certain number of signatures, you make sure that they are registered voters, and
how many signatures is like a certain amount?
I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you one thing, it varies by the number of people in your district.
So they would be able to tell you that number once.
Yeah, when you go get your petition, they tell you. Okay. And I've done this with candidates. I've gone door to door with them. I've collected signatures. I've gone to events to do all that. The other way you can do is just flat out pay the fee, and it can be everything from $1,000 to a couple $1,000. Years ago in 2005, I was at a campaigning event teaching candidates how to be candidates, and we had brought people in from out of state. And they said the first thing you need to learn is the donation limits when you're running for office, because you don't want to get a check that's too much. It can screw you up. And I looked at the woman, I said, to run for the Texas State House, there's no limit. And she said, that's ridiculous. There's got to be a limit. And this woman was from Colorado. And I said, no, honey, there's no limit. We had to go on a computer, open up the laws and show her there's no, in the Texas State House and the Texas State Senate, if one person gives you $1 million, that's okay. I know. So, and most states are not like that. Most states have money limits because I filled out now to run for the federal government, to run for a federal congressional seat. They have very strict limits, and there's a giant report you have to fill out, and it's a real pain in the butt. And I've done it. And you really don't want to screw up with that, because that is a way. When we have an elections commission, right now we don't have a federal elections commission because Dumpty didn't put on other people, and so Biden's in the process of filling those.
So you would go to your district, like your courthouse. Okay. Your courthouse.
If you're doing it in your city, you go to your city hall. If you're doing it in your school board, you go to the school board. If you're running for something in the county, you go to the county, and you can look them up online. They will give you all the rules, and they're not all that complicated. I think the school board you can print out on one page. It's just, you need to do this, you need to do this. And then once you file your petition, you're on the ballot, and they will run your name. And sometimes there's like a couple different people on the ballot. In Texas, we have partisan races, which means RD, Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or Green, or, they've got some party affiliation. You can run as an independent, but they have a different set of rules. But that's a different kind of thing. If you're in a nonpartisan race, that means our city council, our county commissioners are party affiliated. Judges here are party affiliated. But school boards and city councils that are elected in the spring here, we have elections in the spring, those are nonpartisan races. And I really loved running nonpartisan races because you get the best out of both parties, or at least used to. Guys, I haven't done this for a while, but.
So you go to and then you get on, so you're on the ballot. And so now you have to run a campaign. I mean, how minimal of a campaign can you really run to be effective?
We can't run. You need to run with everything you've got and with a clear set of ideas why you want to be there. That's another show we'll do. I actually have 20 questions I would ask every candidate before they ran.
Okay.
And I'd evaluate with them whether they want to run. And I actually had people at the end of that conversation say, no, I don't really want to run. That's too much trouble.
Fantastic. So once you have done all of that.
Once you've decided to put your name on the ballot, then you have to figure out, make yourself a public presence. There will be groups, homeowners associations. If it's schools, there will be schools and school boardish people and educators who will want to see who you are. You'll have to go talk to teachers unions. If you run for a city council race, you go talk to the police union and the firemen's union and the other unions. We have unions here. And you kind of go out and you get to know those people. But less than 10% typically actually go out and vote in municipal elections. I'm followed by everybody because I vote in every election. But to me, that's very aggravating because my day-to-day life is much more set by who's sitting on the city council for me,
right,
than someone in DC. Now, there's a lot of person in DC can do, but the other thing about running people for city councils and school boards, one of the people who's the leader of the groups that are in Washington right now that led the group of people leaving the House, he's the one who really drilled the guy and got them to take out the racist language when they were doing the first round of all this crap. He was on our school board here. And that's where he cut his chops. That's where he got to know his neighborhoods, got a feel for dealing with people, learned how to do constituent services. That's the other part. If you've never had a problem, then you've never known about constituent services. But I have a friend who is a professional who lost her job in COVID and had a real problem with unemployment. And she went to the young woman who was running for that seat. She also went to the person who was in that particular congressional House seat and talked to both of them. And both of those people scrambled their butts to help her unwind her problem. That's where you can go. And that's how you can tell whether a person's a real person or not, is their constituent services.
So after you do that, so how do you move through the ranks? Say that you, in your town, stepped up to some sort of, I don't know. I am now I am elected official in my own town. So how do you start moving up the ranks in
Well, you,
politics?
okay, I ran a candidate in 2004 who was excellent, and she's probably one of the best, smartest people I've ever run. A lot of people went to her and said, "We want you to run for Congress now." She said, "No, city council is enough." She's a lawyer. She's running a practice. She's got 2 little girls. She said, "I want to be at home and appreciate my family." Now, she got in city council at 31, which is really young. And had she chose to go forward, she would have made it, I'm sure, into Congress. Um,
So you
but
just start running for it. I mean, once you hold an office, then you can just do the same process and go. And that's the reason why I think I'm bringing this up, is because Lauren Boebert, who had never run for anything, never held nothing, all of a sudden she's a congresswoman.
Yeah, that's a mistake. I mean, that would be a mistake even if she was really good, because jumping from taking care of a few thousand people and knowing your area and being in a district where you can drive up and down every street, even in Dallas, if you're in a city council district, you can drive up and down almost, all the streets in your area and know what's there, and know the people who are there. That's really important. I mean, that's how Obama started. He started out in the Illinois House and learned, and he lost a race. And trust me, you will lose. 50% win, 50% lose, right? If there's 100% people running, you learn more from the races you lose. You learn what you were not up on and what you need to do, and if you're suited to it. But it's the way I got into politics, period, was I was a neighborhood activist, and I lived near Love Field, which is a major airport that's surrounded by city. And I lived in an area that had grown up to it, but it had been there since 1951, and the airport had been there since the 1920s. So we were very well organized on dealing with the FAA and dealing with the airlines and dealing with that whole structure. Anybody who came in and tried to do anything in our part of town, they ran into the people from the Love Field Initiative. And we knew everybody and who to go ring for whatever thing was wrong, okay? Walmart decided they were going to build a huge Walmart store in a teeny tiny little piece of land. It was going to be an experimental store. And it was 2,000 feet from my front door. And the guy called me up from Walmart and said, "Guess what? We're going to build a Walmart right next to you." And I went, "Guess what? You're not USOB." So I started calling all the people I knew and reaching out. And we were the first group in the entire world. I mean, I had calls from France and Germany and other people who were fighting Walmart from the entire world that had beat Walmart in an open public vote to not be allowed to come in. They were furious. This one guy from Walmart said, "I don't know where you came from." I said, "I came from my neighborhood and you tried to invade it. Go away."
Well, this is definitely exactly what I know that Boebert, Lauren, I'm just gonna call her Lauren, from Colorado. I don't know how she got in. I know that she had debt, and then her debt was paid off. I know that she somehow, some way got underneath the radar and got elected from her district, right? I haven't investigated that too much, but I need to, right? I also know that Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia, she also, she doesn't even live in the district she was elected with. She also, the candidate that was there had gotten threats, and so they dropped out. They got threats from their family, got threats from this, from that. So she didn't really even run a race. She just knew that there was a spot where there was weakness, and she doesn't even live there. These are the things that we need to make sure.
Sorry about the dog.
These are the things that we need to make sure that we're investigating and going in, and we're going to be the voice. And this is kind of what the whole idea of today's video is to arm yourself with knowledge. What can you do? Because if we have this big platform to be able to get a hold of anybody in every state, I think this is incredibly important to arm you with the ideas and the knowledge and what you can do in your own state. So there is that. So when you are when you are not running for a race. So anybody who would
Right.
want to run, you don't apparently, because of Lauren Boebert, you don't need much of education, and you don't need a clean criminal record, because she's got both of those. But
Mhm.
so what do you do to support a candidate? So once you get in there, you're like, I like that candidate. How do I get in to go help them?
Call them. Just call. They're all going to have ways to reach out to them. They're going to, when I would have someone show up and say, I want to volunteer. I actually had a volunteer form for them to fill out, asking what they like to do, what they felt good about doing, where I could kind of direct their energies to make them so they're most efficient for us. If a campaign locks you out and says you're not welcome here, I'd really take a hard look at what I thought I was supporting over there. What Lauren Boebert and what Marjorie Taylor Greene are, they're stalking horses. They are not running anything that's around them. They were paid to be there. And this is one of the problems of not having as active a local press as we normally would, because sometimes local reporters can dig up, where'd this guy come from, and throw enough dirt on it that people say, wait, no, what? But the other part of that is, if you only have 10% of the people who are going to vote in these elections, you need to be the 10% plus one who goes in knowing what you're looking at. And if your area is consistently not turning out candidates, then you need to start working with a group, start working with Sierra Group, start working with women's reproductive rights, start working with, those are ones I've worked with. I helped, when Ann Richards was around, work with the ERA, because Texas has its own ERA statute, so that a lot of the credit discrimination and stuff all went away when we did that. Find issues that appeal to you. And if it's that you think we should live in a well-educated populace, then look at your school board. And don't think, oh my God, I could never do that. Trust me, if you ever sat through a school board meeting, you'd realize you could probably do better than a lot of them that are up there. And, and put your name in the ring. Yeah, it's a risk. Or talk to friends, or find a friend that you know would be good at this, and give them the guts to do it, and stand by them when they do it. My best candidates all had other super people behind them. The other thing is, in your local government, if you want to know how it works, city councils all have commissions like parks and water and all these things. They're always looking for people who want to come and learn about that stuff so that they can help fashion what's going to happen in your area. And you need to know who does what. Like my dear sweet city council person that was 31, she was going door to door, and she was running for Dallas City Council. People go, do you believe in same-sex marriage? And she's like, wouldn't matter if she did or she didn't. She couldn't do anything about it. I mean, the city council doesn't vote on that. The city council does your streets, does your water, does your policing, your fire patrol, and make sure that those things are handled somewhat equitably in theory. They help you. It's good to know them if you're going to have a Walmart decide to stand on your front door, because when I went in and talked about my neighborhood to the city council, I'd been there before. They knew who I was, and they knew I didn't show up for myself. I was showing up for my neighborhood. But you have to have a passion about something.
I agree. I just read a comment in here from Melissa Thomas. She says, if you have ever had a sleepover for third graders, you can chair a school board meeting.
You can. That's true. That's true.
That's hilarious.
And, a lot of our school board people started in their PTAs, and they learned that, I don't know how schools are funded in Colorado, but in Texas, they pay for the building, they pay for the AC, they pay for the teacher, they pay for the janitor. And
in Colorado, each district in each town. Right. So like we have this district over here, which is Harrison District, right? Mm-hmm. But if you go to Cheyenne Mountain District, where all of the millionaires work, that school is beautiful. Mm-hmm. It has so many things. I mean, they just donate like crazy. So it's so
Misappropriated.
It is.
I can tell you exactly what happens. If you look at the laws around it, they're required to have the doors open, pay the teachers, pay the janitors, and kind of take care of those basic things and give the kids books. They do nothing after that. They don't have to pay for sports equipment. They don't have to pay for anything else. So
and that's
right.
That's the reason why Cheyenne Mountain school, their uniforms are always everything is so high end at the Cheyenne Mountain school because that's where the millionaires that live up on the hill. That's where all the kids go to. But all of the other schools and the other districts, barely survive sometimes, and some has to shut down because that district is really, really poor. And I think that is, I just have always been very angry about that. I think no school should ever get a leg up just because they live in a millionaire community. I think all of that money should go to one bank, and every school should be equally distributed.
Should get it, the same apportionment. Yeah, that's what happened in Texas. That's one of the things they created, what they called a Robin Hood tax, which the Republicans named, and they would steal from the rich districts and give to the poor ones, and that's how they leveled the playing field here. But I don't go with this BS. It doesn't matter what you do with education. You can throw all the money in the world you want at it. Dallas has two of the top high schools, Dallas School District, Independent School District. One is for the arts magnet, and that's where it's produced an enormous number of artists and designers and really influential people. And I'm blanking totally on their names, but they really have produced some good folks. And then the other school they have here that's top ranked, it's in the 1, 2, or 3 every year, is the math and engineering. And believe me, they throw the money, the district itself throws the money in that kids, and kids work their way up through their schools and get refined and refined and refined to get in those. And we have people that live in wealthy school districts that are outside of the DISD who try to pay to get their kids in. And that some of that got stopped last year. It got revealed that there was a whole lot of that going on. But so when people say, oh, but you can throw all the money at it, but there's all these innate problems. Trust me, there are kids in that math and technology school that come out of neighborhoods that you wouldn't drive through at high noon if you were.
Absolutely. That's what infuriates me.
Smart. Those kids are so smart, and within our school district, they have a way to work it up. But trust me, I worked with people for years to get the DISD to open these magnet schools and to open these special schools, and it's working because it's filtering down to the other schools.
Good.
A lot of the quality stuff that happens there, not all the time. And trust me, our school district has problems, but and our community colleges, we have a STAR program. If you graduate with a certain grade point average, you can go right into community college and not pay anything. And if you do well up there, you can go to 4-year school. So,
yeah. So here's the thing. I think I might get you to read on your state and see if it's how well and what's going on and what is the difficulties and what are our challenges for your state to go blue.
Okay.
So what are the challenges?
I only have 72 cards here, girl.
Which one would you like? I have my my Rider-Waite with keywords. It's my favorite.
Yeah, I know. I have my Rider-Waite without keywords.
There you go. Yeah.
Actually, I use Eileen Conley. So.
There you go. So let's do a reading on, and I want everybody in the chat to understand this is one of the rarest moments you'll ever see with Nancy because she absolutely refuses to read on politics, but she's doing it as a favor.
I'll read on political principles. I won't read on politicians.
Yep.
I've known too many of them. And I know the good, the bad, and the ugly. Oh, I met Ted Cruz.
Did you punch him for me? I mean, did you say hi? Entertainment value.
You can go and you can find it on YouTube. A TV station had a debate when Ted Cruz ran the first time, and they were just going to have the Republicans debate, and the Democrats went, excuse us, we've got candidates too. So they put them all on one stage, and one of the people on there is a charming young man named Sean. Not my son, but a good friend of ours. And he decided to run for Senate. Except Sean, he's 40 something, and he looks like he's running for high school, for senior class high. I mean, he's got the most, in a family full of baby faces, this kid has the most baby face. But anyway, he's not a tall person. So he met there, and he came in, and he had his little suit on and everything. But I knew the guys who were with him, his wingmen, they were all dressed like I dress. So they were not in their suits. And they were all people that had come out of Obama. And they went into that debate, and Sean slaughtered him. He slaughtered him. And when Cruz got off the stage, he came up to Cruz's wingmen, who were standing next to Sean's, but they thought Sean's guys were the set crew because they didn't think these guys could be anybody's political wingmen. And Cruz came out. He had a temper fit. He said, "I never want to debate that midget again." I mean, he just took him apart. And so they got him out of there before he could talk to anybody. And they had a vote. It was a PBS station. They had a vote. It was KHOU. They had a vote afterwards to see who won, and Sean won the debate hands down. But he never got much further than that because the Democrats were so disorganized in the state. And then they ran a guy who was pro-life because they thought they'd get more votes, and so we ended up with Cruz.
Great.
Okay, what's my state need to do?
Yep.
Oh, it's doing it. Cool. Okay. You ready to go? You want me to go?
No, go for it, hon.
Okay. This is us today. This is Texas today. Yeah, we're getting out of our funk. We're realizing we have the power. This is a lot of what Beto is doing. The wheel of fortune is sitting on top of us. So right now we're in good shape. Justice is coming. It's behind us. We understand what justice is. We're working towards it. When I worked for Beto on his campaign, this was always his card. So a lot of it's coming out of the movement Beto's created, and that's helping us. The message is going to get clearer. I know a lot of times this means messages are coming towards you. When it's reversed, it means things are kind of screwed up, but it's going to get clearer because we have the Ace of Cups. Mm-hmm. People are going to start to know in their hearts what they need to do. Then we've got the Seven of Cups right now. Yeah, there's a whole lot still to be decided about what's going to come out of this legislative session. But this is the state not being nurturing of its own. But I think the stalemate's going to last longer than Governor. This is what I call Greg Abbott. And I'm sorry, I'm going to offend the entire handicapped community. I call him Governor Wheelie. I wouldn't do that if he hadn't, after he made his money on a suit for his injuries, he went in the legislature and voted so nobody else could. That's how he made his personal fortune.
Oh, so he made money on his handicap, and then he voted that nobody else could do that.
He tree dropped on him when he was out jogging, so he sued the homeowners for their tree, and he got a giant, huge settlement from the insurance company. His first term in the Texas House, he voted to make sure no one else could do that. That's why I call him.
Wow.
Anyway, they're in a stalemate right now, but the heartache's going to go away. I think the Dems are going to get a lot more. I think part of what they're going to get from, and this may be why justice is at the base of this, the courts are going to intervene more than we think. So I'm going to do one more question on the court thing.
Absolutely. Well, my cards that I laid down, I have the Queen of Pentacles, the King of Swords, the Page of Swords, the High Priestess, the Queen of Cups, the Hierophant. I mean, all of them are major. I have the Hermit and then the Ace of Swords. I mean, it's almost like telling me that you literally, this is your opportunity to get in there and become a Democrat. At this moment, this time, get in there and be a leader. And this is, I think, the message to the Democrats for the Texas is like, I want you to concentrate, be that leader, and go in there and start talking. Just like with Bento, he's in there, he's going door to door. This is your time. This is your opportunity. This is where your door has opened. So if there's anybody that's living in Texas right here, right now, this is where you can push and push and push. And we can get that state to turn blue just by all of my cards right now. They're talking, they need leaders. They need leaders to the party for the new idea.
Right. We need good active followers, people who will follow through. They have a really good calling system. And I know people like, I don't want to do phone calls, but if that's a way to reach out to a neighbor, you can ask to do people in your area, not just, not call the panhandle if you're in Dallas, because they don't want to hear from us. We don't want to hear from them either. You can talk to people in your own area. You can go to meetings about issues that interest you, and you don't have to go to a meeting, right? They're all on Zoom. Go to those. There was recently one I sat through that was an hour of how to help with voter suppression. And it's make sure everybody that you can influence is registered and get their butts to the polls.
Yes. So here's also, thank you, Tara Love Community. She says that Sheila and Nancy Jean, this is one of the most informative conversation. Have seen such a fresh perspective on how to send energy for the future and the highest good. Thank you. That's a wonderful compliment.
Well, one of the things Sheila and I talked about briefly is how do you get yourself geared up to do this? Yes. And it's really a soul's journey. And if you wake up every day, I don't know if you journal or whatever you do, you can even talk to yourself in the mirror while you're brushing your teeth, although the conversation is a little muffled. But you can say, what do I need to know today? What does my soul need to tell me that I can do? What's the one right thing I can do today? And if you want to make it about this issue, to reach out to my community and improve it. It's amazing. When you ask your soul, souls and angels have to be asked. Except for mine. They might come and kick me in the back of the head and they don't care what I think. But souls and angels normally have to be asked. And if you invite them in, it's called enlightenment because a light comes on and you can see. And it's a great way to practice those skills.
Absolutely. I've always said this, spirit, God, angels, whoever it is that you believe in, they're gentlemen. They will not interfere unless they are asked to come in and do the work for you. So they sit on the sidelines and allow you that freedom to do whatever it is that you want to do. But at that moment, when you realize that you have help on the other side, that's when we as human beings need to consciously invite, ask, and say, I offer myself to you to help me through all of this. And that's when they're able to come in. But they will not force themselves onto you. They will allow you to have your own consequences without connecting with the power that you have available to you. So,
and it can bring you so much peace. And once again, I'm going to say the word, look up in whatever state you are. And I know there are chapters in every single state. Look up indivisible. Because indivisible does partisan, nonpartisan. They are issue oriented. They are groups of people who are meeting on certain issues, and they don't have the push of a power. It's not a top down structure. It's a bottom up. And I believe the only way this country is going to be saved, we can burn all the incense we want to Kamala and to Biden and to all the other good folks that are up there. But at the end of the day, if you don't suit up and show up and get yourself educated, my mom used to say when she was a young woman, people would come to her, and she was a little church-going Episcopalian lady, and they'd say, Helen, why do you sully your hands in politics? And she said, I'd rather sully my hands on them than have them sully their hands on me. And that's the truth. And the other one that's the corollary to that is Ann Richards' thing. You're either at the table or you're on the menu.
Correct. So, absolutely.
So
what was that question we were heading to?
Me?
What was the second question that we were doing with the cards?
Oh, I was going to do if the courts are going to intervene, and I got a funky answer that made no sense, but I'll try it again because maybe
Okay. Are the courts going to intervene? Oh, I did pick up that they were also going to be gone longer than your governor would like,
Well,
for
he's only
one.
got to the end of the month, and then
But he says that he's going to start it all over again, right?
Mhm.
Can he do that?
Yeah, he can keep doing this to the end of the year. They've got to come in district somehow. I mean, they can't district without them either. They can't do anything. All it can do is continue to shine the light on the shadiness that's in this state, which is the best thing. I said the
And I
courts
go
intervene, and
ahead.
it says it's going to be hard to get people together, that things are going to come to light, and that's the hangman of the stuff that people have tried to keep hidden and hanging out are going to go away. The outcome is great. It's the King of Wands, which is my Biden card. I don't do politics, but if I did politics, that would be my Biden card. And
There you go.
fall, it's going to be fall.
Oh, good. So we do have do you think that they're going to stay gone for, I mean, I think they're getting enough money donated to them that they are going to stay gone as long as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a woman last night on with her toddler in her hotel room in D.C. I mean, they pulled out everything. So
Yep.
when
I
they
think so too.
stayed out before, they stayed out more than a month, and I got to give it to them because I don't know if you've ever been to Ardmore, Oklahoma. It's actually not an ugly place, but there's just not a hell of a lot to do there.
They were bored. Well,
One of my best friends in college was from Ardmore. I know about Ardmore.
I also got the King of Wands on that passionate, that charming, that creative, that travel. And I also have the Chariot. Like they are literally having mental control over what they're doing. They have mental control over what they're saying. They have a plan. They have everything that they're ticking all of the boxes. We know how to do this. We know what we need to do, and that is great because the illusion. I have the Moon and the King of Pentacles. They're going to break through the fear. They're going to break through the betrayal. They're going to break through that, and the King of Pentacles shows up like they are literally getting all the money that they need to stay away as long as possible. We do have a lot of donators and a lot of people. I also had a dream the other day that a lot of them are able to stay like in the basements of everybody who lives there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of the the Democrats who come have an apartment. They're like, here, have my apartment while you're here. Here, have this while you're here. I mean, they are literally having that charity, because that charity also comes up. We have we also have Kamala Harris, which in my cards is the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Wands, so she has both of those going on. She has the compassion about it, and she has something. She has the power to do something. Queen of Wands. I also had the King of Cups and the High Priestess. So that Biden is also under his. He's running in his spiritual knowing of what needs to be done and what he needs to say. And there's something that's got a hold of his spirit. Now his speech yesterday, literally, every time I was listening to every single one of his words, I know that Biden was there because his body was there, but I knew spirit was speaking purely through him. It was an amazing thing to sit there and listen to what he was saying, because it was like, wow, it's like this guy is tapped in. This guy's tapped in, and that is what we need the most. And I think that they are going to stay longer than they may. That's almost like they're prepared to stay all the way until 20, like forever.
Well,
until something happens.
Yeah, until they get concessions that are airtight. Because see, when they were going to redistrict before, they did, and they drew some of the districts differently so that they at least had a chance. It really kind of messed everything up. But I can tell you that Republicans are really scared. I live in North Dallas, which has been for a long time a red haven. I lived up until a year ago in a place called Collin County for a couple of years, and that was the reddest of the red counties in Texas. And I don't know how you vote for your city council, but in Dallas you vote by district. So if you're in 14, you get 14, and that person's from 14. And the only people who vote for that person are the people who live in 14. In Collin County, they do at-large elections, which means there's 8 seats, I think, 8 council seats, and then the 9th is the mayor, but they're voted by everybody. So there's like 3 very populous neighborhoods that elect the whole city council. They've got the folks, they've got the votes. And they've consistently had some of the most conservative people running up there. Well, this time, 2 liberals won. Now, where the hell did those votes come from? Yeah, I know. I mean, trust me, there was such a shift in the runoffs. Where I live, there was a guy running, and he already had billboards on Central Expressway, which is a big road, and put a billboard up there, one of the ones that changes, the picture changes. That's an expensive thing. I don't know what our city council makes now, but trust me, his first year's salary was in that sign. And I was like, well, now I know who not to vote for, because somebody who's got that kind of money behind him, he is not going to be taking care of homeowners like me. In the runoff, a woman who was a neighborhood activist beat him.
Wow.
So I know. So things here, and I don't know that she's a Democrat or anything. She could be a less money bought Republican. But, and I looked at her resume, and she'd been school board, she'd been on school like PTA presidents and stuff. So she like a neighborhood person who was going to be for the neighborhoods. We have not had people be for the neighborhoods up here for a long time.
Wow.
So I'm going to pull one last card for you all. I'm going to pull a flower from my garden. It's called the language of flowers. And
I have my moonology, so I'll throw
that's
moonology.
That's cool. Okay, what I got was the zinnia. And the message of the zinnia was absence. And it's what's not here is the key. So if you have not been in this flow of information up until now, the key is get in there. What's important for us is to fill in the blanks where we see them.
Wow. I'm dealing with a troll. Hang on a second.
Okay. I'm sure this conversation is going to bring one up. I've only ever had one troll. It was my grandson. He was shocked that Grandma never had a troll, so he tried to troll my channel. He had to go get on his mother's computer so he could get to YouTube. It was just hysterical. I took pictures of it. It's wonderful.
Good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull mine. And thank you so much for this conversation. I have a feeling that we put a lot of information out into the community that they can get involved. This is not just a wait and see type of situation. We are all empowered to go do something in our own community, in our own states, to help with all of this mess. So when you're feeling anxious and in fear and you feel the chaos, sometimes the best remedy for that is to go get involved. And then you know that you have help and you can do help. Okay, so here we go. This is mine. Your commitment is being tested. Can't get any better.
Perfect.
Exactly. Your commitment is being tested, meaning that we still do make sure that you wear a mask if you're going out and doing all of that, just to be safe. Who cares what they all think? But we can get involved. We can get involved by Facebook. We can go join any Facebook communities. We can do it, virtually. We can join Zoom meetings. We can find out the council. We can, anything that we can do to support the Democratic. And I truly believe that Texas is going to go blue in 2024. I have visioned it. I see it. It was in the cards the last time, and that was the reason why when I would throw on it says Texas blue, I said if Texas goes blue, it'll be a miracle. But I think the energy was so close. It was so, you know what I mean? But things got. If there was anything that was being stolen, it was Texas and and all of that.
Really, truly. I think, like I said, I have a friend who works with the Brennan Center, and they're investigating some of these elections to see where you talk about where the fraud really was. Republicans, they always scream the loudest about what they're doing.
Yep.
I want one word to everybody. I'm at Nancy Jean's Garden. I am going to be live tomorrow at 1:00 Central Daylight Time. I'm going to be reading my garden, which is my the garden, the Oracle Garden, where I roll crystals and do readings. I do free readings there. Come over, look at the stuff that's on my channel. It is not political. It will maybe soothe your mind. Maybe it'll make you crazy. I don't know. But I'm not responsible for your mind. I'm only responsible for mine.
Well, I have to tell you, this right here, this grid right here is what Nancy Jean built me. So I have my own grid that I have.
Your own little power center.
Yep, my own little power center. And definitely go check her out. Go check her out. She will, she, like I said, she just knows so much. But I will absolutely invite you back to when you are ready to talk about.
I'll come back, and so you want to run for office, because that's something we should do relatively quickly, so people, and they can kind of sit there and go, yeah, maybe that does interest me. And in that, I also talk about how to pick the people around you that can support you in that. And because we need more people like us out there. I mean, I realized trust me, when I was working politics, no one knew I had ever read cards, except people who knew me really well. But none of my kids. But and when I started reading cards publicly, it was in a wine bar where they had lots of political meetings, and people would come up and they go, "You know how to do this?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, were you doing that when you worked on the campaign with us?" And they go, "Yeah." And they said, "Do you know what we're thinking?" And I used to always go, "Yeah." Yeah.
Of course, we're like, of course I do. Yeah. Keep that pure.
And you were a complete jerk then, and you are now.
Right? Well, thank you so much, Nancy. Yep. Well, the cat is out of the bag. Everybody knows how incredibly intelligent and knowledgeable you are about politics. So I'm more than happy to give you that platform. So don't go over to her channel and ask her to do political readings, because she's not. She's going to keep that pure.
I keep the garden. Yeah, I pull them weeds before I go on air. My oldest son, who was political consultant, he said, "You're going to go on and talk about politics, Mom? I thought you were out of it." And I said, "I am out of it." But anyway,
she can do that here. Yeah.
I think she's going to do that.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you everybody who showed up, and thank you,
Melinda.
for participation.
I do sell crystals. I sell certain kinds of crystals in combination with readings. I help you. I do a reading and I help you figure out what you need. So
she does, and they're wonderful. And I also have her new version of reading as well. And I've done a couple of personal readings with it, and it works out beautifully. I tried to do it for political, and your whole thing just goes like this. It's like, this is not working. So yeah, it's like a beautiful reading for personal readings.
It's for personal. It's a 4D reading. It's not a. Politics is 3D. I had to really gear myself up to come do this. Politics is very dualistic, and that's the nature of the beast. You win, you lose. Yeah. And that's just a part of our real world. But the garden came out of channeling in 4 and 5D energy, and that's why it doesn't work for politics.
It doesn't. I tried. But I tried to I tried
to read a former president's thing, and the stone that means the mind, it rolled off.
Yeah, like, stop it. Yeah. It's like, I'm not playing.
But anyway, if you want to come over and see what I do when I'm not being political, it's 1:00 tomorrow on Nancy Jean's Garden. It's alive.
Definitely. All right, everyone.
You take care, sweetie. Enjoyed being here.
Yes, smile. You're on candid camera.
Yeah.